Lessons from Quran, a path to explore, reflections from life and so much more. Lessons from Quran, a path to explore, reflections from life and so much more.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Please recite after me. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله، الصلاة والسلام عليك يا حبيب الله، الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله، وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله. Respected viewers of Madani Channel, we once again welcome you in our program Lessons and Reflections. In this program, we select verses from the Holy Quran, discuss the lessons which are mentioned in them verses, and we try and learn from those lessons and reflect upon. Be with us from start till end, immense amount of knowledge you will be learning. Before we proceed towards our topic of the day, let's make few good intentions. My Shaykh Tariqat, Amir of Ahlul Sunnah, Hazrat Allama Maulana Muhammad Ilyas Attar Qadri, Hafizahullah, has given us this beautiful mindset that we should not forget to make good intentions before performing any permissible task or any good deed. As I am presenting this program, I make this intention, I will present this for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're watching this program, you can make this intention, you will watch this from start till end, you'll remember what you learn, act upon and pass this knowledge on to others. The more intentions you add, the higher the reward you can attain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Holy Quran,
وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا.
And by the soul and by him who made it proper and instilled in it, i.e. the human soul, the understanding of its sins and its piety. Indeed, successful is the one who made it, i.e. his soul, pure. And unsuccessful is the one who covered it in sins. In the explanation commentary of this verse, it is mentioned, Allah Almighty created human beings, made them a combination of body and soul, granted them both inner and outer qualities, gave them the ability to accept truth and falsehood, placed both goodness and evil in their being, and granted them the faculty of understanding good and bad and the choice to pursue them. The verses which you've just heard convey this reality, which in summary, illustrate how an oath is taken by the self and by the Lord, who protected his creation and granted it numerous abilities, such as the ability to speak, hear, see, as well as the ability to contemplate and comprehend. He then created in its heart the ability to obey and disobey, alongside informing it about good and evil. After gaining this ability and being given this choice, the human being who purified himself from evil became successful, whereas the one who occupied himself in transgression, thus covering himself in sins, became unsuccessful. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma narrates that when Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam would reach these verses and reciting, he would pause and then make this dua. Allahumma ati nafsi taqwaha wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. O Allah, grant my nafs piety and purify it. You are the best of purifiers. You are its guardian and master. What a beautiful dua to make. We also make the same dua. May Allah accept it. The carnal self, nafs, is such an enemy whose harm is greater than that of shaitan. In fact, it is the carnal self, nafs, which misled shaitan. The desires and wishes of the carnal self are limitless and uncontrollable. These desires increase until they reach a point where people who are slaves to their nafs begin to take their desires as their gods. Allahu Akbar. They fulfill every desire of the carnal self, their nafs, and fall into ruin, destruction. The outcome of such people is that their ears and hearts are sealed, their eyes are veiled, due to which they neither hear guidance and counsel, nor do they see the true path. The exact state has been mentioned in the Holy Quran.
أفرأيت من اتخذ إلهه هواه وأضله الله على علم وختم على سمعه وقلبه وجعل على بصره غشاوة فمن يهديه من بعد الله أفلا تذكرون.
Just look at him who made his desire as his God, and Allah caused him to go astray despite his knowledge, and set a seal upon his ears and his heart, and a covering upon his eyes. So who would guide him after Allah? So do you not ponder? That's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us time and time again regarding the devastating effects of our carnal self, the nafs. Hence, this message is conveyed through Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam as
وما أبرئ نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي إن ربي غفور رحيم.
And I do not describe my own self free from blame. Undoubtedly, the basest self commands evil excessively, except upon whom my Lord has mercy. Indeed, my Lord is most forgiving, ever merciful. The carnal self, the nafs that invites towards evil, is referred as al-nafs al-ammara, and its most powerful weapon is that net of desires, entangling individuals to the point where they become captives of their desires and do not even strive to escape. Such individuals neither remember Allah Almighty nor the hereafter. This is why Allah Almighty repeatedly mentions the destructiveness of the carnal self's desire and warns against following it, just as he declared in Surah Sad.
يا داود إنا جعلناك خليفة في الأرض فاحكم بين الناس بالحق ولا تتبع الهوى فيضلك عن سبيل الله إن الذين يضلون عن سبيل الله لهم عذاب شديد بما نسوا يوم الحساب.
And do not follow desires which will lead you astray from Allah's path. Indeed, those who go astray from Allah's path, for them is severe punishment for the reason that they forgot the day of judgment. In fact, we have been commanded to avoid those people who follow the desires of the ego and have forgotten their Lord. Allah Almighty said,
واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا.
And do not follow him whose heart we have caused to become neglectful of our remembrance, and who followed his own desires and his actions has crossed the limit. The Prophet ﷺ, including the carnal self, nafs, amongst those things which led to harm. He ﷺ stated, 3 things cause one to fall into ruin, destruction. Number 1, stinginess, which is pursued, desires of the nafs which are followed, and for a person to consider himself as good. So these are the 3 things which can lead someone towards destruction. In one narration, Rasulullah ﷺ spoke so extensively about base desires and human states. This one hadith by itself suffice in making a wise person protect himself from the evils of the carnal self. What's that? Rasulullah ﷺ said, when Allah Almighty created paradise, He said to Jibreel ﷺ, go and observe it. So he went and saw paradise, as well as the blessings that Allah Almighty has prepared for the dwellers of paradise. He returned and said, O Lord, by your honor, whoever hears about it will enter it, i.e., he will certainly make effort to enter it. Then Allah Almighty covered paradise with hardships, i.e., in order to enter paradise, one must endure the trials brought about by Islamic rulings. And said, O Jibreel, go and observe it. So he went and saw it. Upon returning, he said, O Lord, by your honor, I fear that no one will be able to enter paradise. Then when Allah Almighty created hell, he said, O Jibreel, go and observe it. He went and saw it and returned and said, O Lord, by your honor, whoever hears about it will not enter it, i.e., he'll make effort to avoid it. Allah Almighty then adorned it with desires, i.e., whoever falls prey to forbidden desires will enter hell. He then said, O Jibreel, go and observe it. He went and saw it, and upon returning he said, O Lord, by your honor, I fear that no one will be saved from entering it. This program is Lessons and Reflections. The lesson learned from this hadith is that Allah Almighty has made entering a grand place like paradise contingent upon saving oneself from the desires of the carnal self. If we do not protect ourselves from the tricks of our nafs, we will not be able to enter paradise. The same applies for avoiding entering hell. One must avoid the desires of the nafs. Therefore, attaining success in the court of Allah Almighty lies in purifying the carnal self from evil. Otherwise, there will be destruction. Respected viewers, Allah Almighty has mentioned this in the Holy Quran as follows.
فأما من طغى وآثر الحياة الدنيا فإن الجحيم هي المأوى وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى.
So the one who rebelled and gave preference to the worldly life, so indeed only hell is his abode. And as for the one who feared standing in the majestic court of his Lord and restricted his soul from illicit desire, so indeed only paradise is his abode. Now, the question is, how can we protect ourselves from the tricks of our nafs? How can we protect the carnal self from evil? What is the method? The Prophet ﷺ said, none from you can become a true believer until his desires do not conform to what I have brought, meaning the religion, Deen Islam. Allah Almighty said,
ومن يطع الله ورسوله ويخشى الله ويتقه فأولئك هم الفائزون.
and whosoever obeys the command of Allah and His Messenger and fears Allah and observes piety. So it is these people who are successful. We need to have the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to protect ourselves from the tricks of shaitan and the nafs. Especially today we discussed about the evils of our nafs and how one can become slaves of his or her own nafs. And the way forward is doing the ita'at of Mustafa Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, following the religion which Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam brought, fulfilling the commandments of Allah and His Habib alayhi salatu taslim, fulfilling the rights of our Rabb Ta'ala Azza wa Jal and the rights of people, huquq of Allah and huquq of ibad. This is what is the way forward. Doing ittiba of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And if we do that, we will not follow nafs, we will not follow shaitan. We will follow the commandments of Allah and His Habib alayhi salatu wasalam. It's not easy, it is difficult. Log aasan samajhte hain musalman hona. It's not easy to be a believer, but this is the test. This is the dunya. This is the world where we are being tested. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it difficult. We have to go through many hardships to get paradise, as we heard in that hadith. And there are so many desires of our nafs. They attract us towards Jahannam, and we have to repel them. We have to push them back, and we need to go towards the path of piety, path of taqwa, path of Jannah, Jannatul Firdaus, insha'Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah is Rahman, Allah is Rahim. But this dunya, we have to be careful and mindful of the tricks of shaitan and the nafs. That's all for today. We'll be back with another beautiful episode. Until then, keep watching Madani Channel. Keep reciting Salat ala Nabi. Sallu ala al-Habib. Sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Lessons from Quran, a path to explore, reflections from life and so much more. Lessons from Quran, a path to explore, reflections from life and so much more.